edition of Stick to the Script Current Events. My name is SHAMAR, and to my left,
Shahada
Shahada. So we're not gonna keep you all night. It's just been a number of things that have kind of been, not even kind of been. It's been as y'all can see, the times are crazy. Let's get two quick scriptures. Give me Sirach chapter 5 and verse 15.
This is Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 5 and verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small.
So the scriptures tell us, don't be ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Now, a lot of these things, they're more significant and they're more important, but we always implore you, Israel, to not let this be the limit of research or of events that you find, of things that you keep yourself abreast of. But this is a starting point, so to speak, to just kind of get into that researching element and to be aware of what's going on. And we obviously know the disadvantage of getting information so late, because we see how much we're affected. We're getting the tail end of financial literacy, of social economics, of learning that we're Israelites. We're just now getting these things, and we see how much of a detriment it is because we're getting the information so late. And I want to get one more scripture, Ephesians chapter 5, starting at verse 15 and down to 17.
This is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15.
Uh-huh.
See then that you walk circumspectly.
Circumspectly. I just want to get a quick definition, because what does it mean to be circumspect? Circumspect, careful to consider all circumstances and possible consequences. That's an excellent definition. So the scriptures are telling us, walk circumspectly, be conscious, careful to consider all the circumstances and possible consequences. It's easy to dive headfirst into a lot of decisions and then get there and say, whoa, right? And that's unanimously and ambiguously. There's quite a few times where we do those things and then we get into situations and say, hold on. So the objective now is to, knowing that those kind of scenarios exist, to better prepare ourselves as we move forward, walking circumspectly. Go ahead.
Not as fools, but as wise.
Not as fools, because a fool is doing that, right? You're not thinking about anything. You're not thinking about the consequences. You're not thinking about the possibilities. You're just saying, this is what I'm going to do, and that's it. You got to take those things into consideration. Go ahead.
Redeeming the time, because the days are evil.
He said, redeeming the time because the days are evil. We see, with all these incidents, with all these things that are happening in the world, we see the days are getting evil. The world is getting evil, getting worse and worse constantly. Like the scriptures say, a woman in travail, a woman who's having, she's getting ready to give birth, those contractions get worse and they get more frequent. So we're seeing just all the time these contractions, all these things that are happening in the earth between man and the Most High. Go ahead.
Wherefore, be ye now unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is.
He said, be ye not unwise. Don't be unwise. Be circumspect. Be aware. Be cognizant of these things, right? So let's talk about what's been going on. Can you take us over to the PowerPoint? Let's get into these current events, all these things that have been happening in the world as of late. Especially, obviously, because we're in the U.S., we more so focus on the U.S.
No feed.
Oof. Uh-oh. Bear with me 1 second, Israel. This is our favorite part. Oh, yeah. I grew up on the tail end of 64.
Oh, yeah.
What about now?
No.
Okay, let's try. Bam. Yep. Let me. Okay. Fun fact, it actually said to not blow the Nintendo cartridges? Huh. We got feed?
No, sir.
Oof. You looking at the Big Bertha?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, kind of.
Just keep trying. I'll let you know.
Oof, bear with us 1 second, Israel. Forgive us for these moments. We're working to mitigate and to completely eliminate these moments, but they have a way of coming back. Yes, sir. Just bear with us for 1 second, Israel. There's some, as you guys know, there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. Pretty sure, I mean, some of them are pretty popular, though. Some of them I was surprised to see myself that, like, are legitimate sites and sources that no one seems to really be concerned with. Like, I'm one of the people I really don't like to go on certain sites, especially if they already have a bias. It's not very good journalism. It's not very good research. If you're looking, well, I'm not gonna say it's totally eliminates the benefit of what someone's saying, but as a counter argument, it kind of easily debunks what you're trying to bring out or show if it's known that the person that you're getting the information for obviously already has a narrative they're trying to paint. So I try to get, sites that are pretty in the middle, or if they are, doing sneaky stuff or, having certain diction, certain convenient circumstances, I try to call those kind of things out. So I'm really hoping that this is going to work with me. There's a lot of good info.
Yo, we're good.
All praises. Go ahead, switch us over out. There we go. Okay, Israel. Okay, so if y'all haven't seen this, right? And maybe I'll pull up the other article if we have some time. Or, as a matter of fact, if you can, if you're interested, you can look it up on your own time. There was this guy, he was radicalized, right? He was saying that everybody, the world is just full of profanities and all these other kind of things. And so in a seemingly random attack, he just goes into a subway, sets off a smoke grenade, right? Not sure how he got that. Not sure if it's homemade. But let's get into this article. And then there's obviously a clip here that I want to show.
So the title is Brooklyn Shooting, 17 injured in a New York City subway station. 17 people have been injured in a shooting during the morning rush hour at a New York City subway station. An unidentified attacker detonated a smoke bomb and opened fire at Brooklyn's 36th Street station at 8:30 local time. Images from the scene showed bloodied passengers laying on the floor of a smoke-filled station. Officials are appealing for information about the gunman who fled the scene and is still at large.
So one thing I do want to say, he was arrested since then. It was a Jake, unfortunately. He wasn't awakened or anything, but he was an Israelite by blood. And it just really seemed like videos he was watching online. Of course, that's what's being said, and that's all we have to go off of. But it just seems like he was watching videos online, upset at the world, and just decided one day that he was going to do something about it. So he goes into a subway, like worst place to get caught, because you're stuck in that subway until you get to the next station. He opens fire, injures 17 people. No one dies that I know of. And then he ends up later getting arrested. But it was just, an act of extreme violence. Go ahead.
An individual donned a gas mask. He then opened fire, striking multiple people on the subway and on the platform. New York City Police Commissioner Keishant Sewell said. The attacker then fled wearing what Miss Sewell said was a green construction-type vest and a gray sweatshirt.
So, obviously the attack was premeditated, right? He's got a smoke grenade of some kind, whether it was purchased from wherever or whether it was homemade, some kind of smoke grenade. Then he leaves, but then look at what he's wearing. He wears, what does it say, a green construction-type vest and a gray sweatshirt. So a construction-type vest, chances are it had the reflective strips, because it's construction. You're supposed to be. It's a high visibility vest. That's the name, high visibility vest. So if he was trying to sneak on out of there and run and hide, no, he had an alibi. He looks like a construction worker. Exactly. He jumps on the train, he gets off, and then he's like, oh, looks like a regular construction worker. They're looking for. I mean, it's crazy, but keep in mind that's premeditated, right? Go ahead.
This is not being investigated as an act of terrorism at this time, she said. Police have since tracked down a rental van they had been searching for in connection with the attack, according to the Associated Press, but the suspect wasn't there. 10 of those who are being treated for injuries were shot, while others suffered smoke inhalation as well as injuries sustained during the initial panic.
So there were 10 people that were shot in all of this, right? And there's some of the images of people that were struck, and I'm going to show this video as well. But you literally just, one after another, you see people that were coming off the train injured, limping. A lot of them got hit in the leg, it seems like. And I just want to play this clip because it's pretty insane. Can we get the audio? Salakia Israel. To the right, there goes one. He's limping. One on the ground already. There goes another one being supported, limping. And you can see on the ground how much blood he's losing as he comes off the train. There goes another one. Someone else.
Yeah, you really stuck when you're down there.
So, I mean, man, just total nightmare fuel. They're on the subway. It's not like you can stop a subway, and the subway doesn't have the same luxury as a bus. Something really happens on a bus, like those double deckers. I'm pretty sure those are across the U.S., right? I don't think those are LA exclusives. And you're able to somehow, bus driver can pull over and say, everybody get off, everybody get to safety. Subway, you can't do that. They're in, and you're underground at that. So they just were able to hear the shots. They're trying to move. They're trying to be able to navigate, get to another car, get further away from the bullets. Not even able to do that. So, I mean, it was just, man, what an intense moment. But you see, like the scriptures say, the days are evil. Things are getting worse. Unprovoked attacks. What was the warning? And as far as I know, that he didn't really even have any kind of narrative. Like I said, I might we might have to pull up the other article. He was just watching videos on YouTube, and he has his own YouTube channel, and he's so upset about the world. And
I mean, understandably,
but it's not like he's you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's some kind of righteous anger that he has where it's like, oh, this is wrong. That he was just like, the world is full of mother effers, and you know what I'm saying? Like just mad at something, maybe
on some selfish stuff.
Yeah, just exactly. So it was crazy, but that was in New York, right? And here's one in California: 3 freeway shootings, including one deadly, reported within 24 hours on LA County roads. So this is right here in LA, right? 3 freeway shootings within 24 hours of each other, right? 2 hurt, including a child. That's the I just sent that to you. That's the crazy part, right? all on the freeways. The California Highway Patrol is investigating 3 separate shootings that occurred Tuesday on Los Angeles County freeways. It is unknown if any of the shootings are related. The latest shooting happening just before 5 p.m. on the northbound 710 freeway near the 105 in Paramount. So that's right up the street. According to CHP, an unknown SUV drove alongside the passenger side of the victim vehicle and fired an unknown number of shots. 2 victims, a male passenger and a minor, were hurt in the shooting. The male passenger was hit by shattered glass and was taken to the hospital for minor injuries. The minor was also taken to the hospital for minor injuries. The driver of the victim's car was not hurt and stayed on scene. So the good thing was it doesn't seem like anyone was struck by gunfire in that instance. And the thing is, with these freeway shootings, I remember, what was it, during COVID, right? As the lockdown started to end, there were unprovoked shootings that were happening on the freeways. Most of the time, it was just windows, tires occasionally. But there weren't really any arrests made, at least back then, with all those shootings, right? We don't know if these are gang-related. You don't know if these are some random person taking it upon themselves to just be angry at the world, if these are personal beefs. But at the end of the day, bullets don't have names. If it's a shooting that's on a freeway, especially a populated freeway, LA freeways are hardly ever empty, especially the 710 and 105. They're not ever empty. So imagine, we could just be, and that's one thing, Esau has put us in such a state that we're always so worn out, right? We're always in such a hamster wheel of life. You wake up, go to work, come home, you got a couple hours to yourself that you're usually using to relax or to recuperate, because then you got to prepare for the next day because you got to do it all over again. Gets even more complicated and time restricted when you have family, children, other obligations, hobbies, anything else that you're trying to pursue. And then you still have to incorporate those things while getting ready for the next day. So we're in this hamster wheel, and it becomes very easy to get worn out and to just get kind of stuck in this loop that we're in, right? And Esau has it set up like that by design. Scriptures say he's trying to wear out the saints. But now it's like the Most High is exponentially stronger and exponentially, harder, shaking the cage that much harder, because we're seeing all these instances we're seeing all these instances where it's just people living their normal lives, going about their normal activities, and something major happening that just shapes the course of people's lives forever. I'm pretty sure those people who were shot by gunfire never want to take a subway again, and that's a hell of a testimony to be able to give someone, who wasn't there, to say, man, that changed my life forever. That changed the course of history damn near, because how many people are going to say, man, I want to get stuck down there?
Right.
And an unprovoked attack can take place anywhere, but you would want to have the options to be able to run, to duck, to hide. And
not only that, the train is probably the most efficient way to get around New York City. Mm-hmm. So, that's a huge thing.
It's something to be aware of. So one of the shootings was in Carson, right? The second shooting happening around 10:30 a.m. on the eastbound 91 near Avalon Boulevard off-ramp in Carson. The shooting left one person injured. A man and a woman were in the victim car. The woman was shot, so this time someone was struck and taken to a local hospital. She is in serious but stable condition. The suspect fled the area. And that's another thing. Because these things are happening on freeways, how do you really stop that? If you're in the car that's getting shot at, you're trying to survive. You're total survival mode. Chances are you're not going to think to pull out your phone, try to record it, or get some kind of information or details about the other car. You're trying to survive. And you can't, it's not like you could just swerve super hard, because everyone's going breakneck speeds to your left and to your right. So you're in a really bad situation, right? Then on top of that, once that person is done firing, all they got to do is keep going. They're already going, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. 30 minutes, they're 45 miles away from where the shooting occurred.
And there's no cops around.
Right. Like, man, and like I said, it's things like that just, man, you're totally, we're always in the hands of the Most High, but you're totally in the hands of the Most High to, pray for mercy and hope that things go well. The third one was in Southgate. The first shooting happening tonight on the 17 freeway in Southgate. A man who was wounded later died from his injuries. So this man died. So they went from getting struck by glass that, from the bullets coming into the car, one woman getting actually shot, and then this man lost his life. Bullets fired from one car to another around 12:30 a.m. The victim, who has not yet been identified, was in the number 1 lane. The unidentified suspect was in the number 3.
Sheesh.
Suddenly, there was a barrage of bullets coming at the victim. The victim pulled over to the median to call CHP for help while the suspect fled using the Florence exit. Wow. He got off right.
That's right here.
Literally right up there. Like,
Man.
we could walk to the Florence exit right now. That's how close this was.
We're on Florence right now. It's like
On Florence.
maybe quarter mile away.
That's like these are happening on these streets that we
Right.
drive all the time every day, getting to and from work.
All praise to the Most High for keeping us safe out
Real
here.
talk. Real talk. All praise to the Most High, because there's nothing but the Most High. We don't have control. We try to prepare ourselves the best way that we can, but you can't prepare yourself. There's only so much. You can be circumspect and be prudent, and you want to be as possible, but there's only so much before you just like, hey, man, I got to leave this to the Most High. Pray to the Most High have mercy on us.
Come.
Says the victim was taken to the hospital where he later died. No arrests have been made in any of the shootings, nor has any suspect description been released, because they don't have one. You got shot at. It's total survivor mode. You managed to pull over. Some of them were injured. This man succumbed to the injuries and died. They have no way of getting a description. He at least was able to say that they got off on Florence, and that's probably the most information that they had out of all 3 of these. They don't have a description. They don't know what vehicle. They don't have information on what the person looked like. They don't have any of that. They just, these are just, quick incidents that, man, resulted in somebody losing their life. And these aren't even isolated events, especially not in California and especially not in America, at least not with shootings. So 6 killed and at least 12 injured in a mass shooting in Sacramento, California. At least 18 people were injured, 6 fatally, when a mass shooting erupted early Sunday in downtown Sacramento, California, and police said no suspects were in custody. The Sacramento PD said several streets in downtown Sacramento, just blocks away from the state capitol building and the Golden One Center, where the Kings NBA team plays, were closed. As officers responded to the gun violence, the conditions of the victims were not immediately known. 3 of the deceased are men and 3 are women. So, man, look at that. Sacramento PD Chief Kathy Lester said during a press conference Sunday afternoon, the victims were identified by the Sacramento Coroner's Office on Monday as John Taya Alexander, 21, Young, Melinda Davis, 57, Sergio Harris, 38, Joshua Hoy Lechesi, 32, Yamil Martinez Andrade, 21, and Davazia Turner, 29. So these 6 people lost their lives in this shooting, right? A fight took place just before the shootings, and there were multiple shooters, Lester said, adding that it is not currently known whether the shooters were a part of some party or were unknown to each other. And it's crazy because, it's a lot of gangs in California. I think that's no secret. And, a lot of these rappers, especially that are really have some name behind or some gas behind their name, a lot of them are reputable gang members. And they're always rapping about what happens when they come together, push a button, get somebody killed. That stuff is real. That's not just talk. That's not popularity. That stuff really happens in California with some regularity. And that's why they were saying they don't know if they were part of the same party, if they were all related. Once a gun comes out and it's in a crowd of people, like I said, bullets have no names. All these things are just going to happen. Investigators are interviewing several witnesses and sifting through hundreds of pieces of evidence. The shooting came just several hours after 1 person was killed and 10 people were injured when gunfire erupted at an outdoor concert in Dallas, Texas. So there's mass shootings all over. The Sacramento shooting broke out at about 2 a.m. near the corner of 10th and K Street in a popular nightlife area, Sacramento Police Chief Kathy Lester said in a news conference. Imagine that, man. Man, you have anything you want to say to that?
No, I'm cool.
I mean, it's
crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not getting any better.
Nope, steadily getting worse. Slowly but surely. There was another mass shooting just mentioned in this article, and that's not even one that we're mentioning, even though there is another mass shooting later in this article, or later in these articles. Let me see. Is this it? I don't even know which one that one was supposed to be. Now look at this, right? Federal informant found dead on El Sereno High School's campus. Found dead. So, talking about, you know how it's crazy because Esau's really getting down like this. We see all this stuff in the movies, these predictive programmings and all that kind of stuff. That stuff is real. Esau, you try to come after the wrong person, or someone wants some real power. This man's dead. Not only is he a federal informant, but he was found on a high school campus. Like some 007 stuff. They was fighting or they was doing whatever they was doing, ended up on the school campus. Now they just get to school and it's like, oh, wait a minute, that guy's not moving. Man.
It's like some movie stuff, for real. Like it's very well coordinated. You want me to read that?
Come on.
A man believed to have worked with federal authorities to investigate the activities of a Deutsche Bank and its ties with former President Donald Trump was found dead in El Sereno High School's campus Monday. A cleaning crew found the body of Valentin Broeksmit, 45, self-described as a comically terrible spy, around 6:40 a.m. Monday morning.
That's cold. That's cold. They said a cleaning crew, he self-described, self-described as a comically terrible spy. I guess, go ahead.
He was declared dead at about 7:05 a.m. on the Woodrow Wilson High School campus off on the 4500 block of Multnomah Street, according to the Los Angeles County coroner. Officials have yet to release a cause of death pending an autopsy. This is the crazy part, right? School police said they had no video that shows him coming onto campus and are unsure how long he had been there. He had been on the campus.
Man. So I don't even know how he got there. They're
Right.
like, man, let's go check the cameras. Nothing. Like when you see, and that's why I say, when you see that stuff in movies, that's not just movies. And the crazy part about it is everyone is so, you can actually look at, I think there's a show on Netflix called Spycraft, right?
Yeah.
And it literally just talks about all the different ways that America, especially America and Russia, have been pretty much at each other's throats with advanced technology, different methods of spy warfare, exchanging information, getting informants in and out.
Different tools that they use for spying.
Man, and so the crazy part about it is, though, the amount of technology that they had was mind-blowing. And they're always bringing out stuff that's been declassified, meaning that it's no longer so important or so current that it needs to be hidden. They're saying, okay, we can let these things out now. They're talking about stuff from the 60s, super advanced radios, tiny cameras, pictures that are, incorporated in cigarette boxes.
Right.
And like you put up one cigarette and when you push it, it takes a picture. Like mind-blown. Everyone's mind-blown by the iPhone. They're miles ahead of that.
Right.
And the thing is, most of it gets, utilized in military applications, government applications, long before it's ever mentioned or ever used for civilian activities. One thing I like to look at is Reddit stories, right? And there's always these, someone who was in the military or, government, what's a secret you can share, or if I tell you I have to kill you kind of thing. And one of the stories that I found interesting because it was very believable was that someone said that back in like the early 70s, he was working with voice recognition technology. Things that are used today in Siri, Alexa, and Google Home, right? Things that are recent to the modern populace, but according to that are closer to like 50 years old. Now here we are about 45 years later, actually getting that technology where it's so common, pretty much everyone has access for. You can get a Alexa Dot for like $40 now, right? Super common, but it's been around for who knows how long, just being used outside of the public eye. CGI is super advanced outside of the public eye. So when you see these 007 and, spy movies and all that kind of stuff really exists and is really being used, and it's just not accessible to the public. And it makes you really wonder, how much is accessible or what's been done with all this technology. If you've seen deepfake, you know about deepfake is pretty much a program that takes people's faces and puts it on, you know, political figures, public figures, pretty much somewhere that they were nowhere remotely close to, and makes the movement of their facial expressions and their tone of voice realistic and believable. So a lot of people have used it in entertainment, especially I saw a lot of videos start to surface, you know, comically, of course, after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Yeah, you saw those videos of like what could have happened, or, you know, someone modded WWE to have them two going at it. But it really, to me, I'm always kind of like, yeah, this is funny, but then imagine what that could be used for.
Right.
A political figure on the other side of the world who's in a bunker or even being tortured, having their face on a public appearance that never happened. Get 150 crisis actors or even 100, you know, government used, you know what I'm saying? People that they just have on the tuck, paying a good amount of money per year. What do you do for work? Oh, I work for the State Department. No details. And then you get a call, hey, we need an actor on the other side of the world. And you just stand in an audience of a video or, you know, of a press conference that's not really happening. It's mind-blowing. And it's stuff like this, because then you see bodies turn up in the normal populace. That's kind of stuff only happens in the movies. You know, Bad Boys, there's big shootouts on the streets. No, these are really happening. A lot of them don't make the news. A lot of them are kept hush. But then you have incidents like this that can't be swept under the rug. They don't even know how this man got there.
Right.
Man, let's continue on.
Brooks Smith was last seen driving a red Mini Cooper on April 6, 2021, in Griffith Park on Riverside Drive. Although Brooks Smith had gone missing, his Twitter account remained active.
And look at that.
Crazy, right?
Probably. So who knows how? They said we don't know how long he's been here, right? That man could have been on that campus for a couple of days. Okay, obviously there wasn't significant body decay, but at the same time, there's no telling when he actually died. Then his Twitter account, they're tweeting, you know, whoever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever happened, his account on Twitter is still active. He's still liking and sharing and retweeting, even though this man is deceased. Go ahead.
Wait, the plot thickens. Friends and journalists claimed to stay in contact with him during his disappearance, with forensic news investigative journalist Scott Stedman tweeting that he last spoke with Brooks Smith in January.
So he's been missing for months. If he's last spoke to in January, we're in April, he's been missing for quite some time. Right. Twitter is active. He thinks he's being spoken to, and that's why I mentioned the deep fake, because they can do that with video and I believe with voice. Voice modulation and, you know, voice augmenters, they've been around. That's not something that's impossible, but when's the last time someone physically laid eyes on him? That's the question. Can you drop down, not to the next paragraph, but the sentence after that?
It is very sad, he added. I don't suspect.
Oh, wait, one above that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Stedman wrote that Brooks Smith had given him Deutsche Bank documents that highlighted the bank's deep Russia connections.
So obviously, whatever it was that he was working towards, he gave him documents, but he's like, hey, look, this is what he gave me. So he already knows the drill. And I ain't even gonna get into speculating. But look at the next sentence.
It is very sad, he added. I don't suspect foul play.
How could you not? How could you not suspect foul play? Dude turned up dead at a high school campus. First of all, what was he doing there? Second of all, he's been missing since January. How is there not foul play involved in that? And he's like, look, this is everything that he gave me. Well, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's like, connect those dots, Israel. Connect them. Go ahead.
Val struggled with drugs on and off, waiting on further info.
And that's the classic. He was a drug addict.
Right.
That's the classic. Because anyone who's on drugs is like, oh, they're unpredictable, they're this, they're that. Okay. But just look at all these things, right? So while Russia is waging war in Ukraine, obviously he was an informant, and I believe he was giving up info related to Trump. Yep. Investigate the activities of Deutsche Bank and its ties with former President Donald Trump. So they've got some kind of connection. He's got documents showing it. He hands it to this guy, ends up missing. Now they just find his body. And what a coincidence that Russia is actually waging war, and wars are not inexpensive. Wars are expensive.
Right.
Tanks, you got $40 million a piece tanks, and you got a convoy of them. That's a few billion. Those billions have to come from somewhere. And that's just one person that's connected, but there's no telling who else is, right?
Let me get this down here.
Come on.
Brooksmith, who was also subpoenaed by the House Intelligence Committee during its probe into the Trump and the bank, reportedly offered hundreds of documents to federal investigators and journalists who were looking for ties between Deutsche Bank and Trump. The documents were left behind by his stepfather, William, who was an executive for the bank, died.
So everyone related. Seemed like everybody with some kind of connection, they turning up dead, right? Oh, he died, he's found, no fi. But I always look at those kinds of things because it's like, man, you know, you really get to see how Esau is really getting down. Matter of fact, I want to put this last. I know you've already seen the headline, but we're going to get that last. Let's talk about everybody's favorite, the vid. Dozens of New York City Department of Education employees are on unpaid leave for alleged fake COVID vaccine cards.
Yikes.
Man. But see, here's the thing, right? The economy's not in a great place. That's why they had to release all those billions, if not trillions of dollars in stimulus checks. You have a whole lot of other things that we're going to be getting into, including food shortages that are on the way and progressively getting worse. And then you have, you know, this huge amount of pressure that's being put on the populace because of COVID. Okay. So all these different directions, the everyday man or woman is under, you know, scrutiny or under attack because you're constantly, there's so many different things, right? And we already know that teachers are notoriously underpaid. And on top of that, because they aren't willing to get a vaccine, now they're unpaid. Go ahead.
Dozens of New York City Department of Education employees are being placed on unpaid leave as of Monday for allegedly submitting fake COVID-19 vaccine cards. Mm-hmm. The DOE said fewer than 100 employees submitted the fake vaccination cards, while a union official estimated it to be around 70.
So about 100 people. So that's a bunch of teachers, right?
Yeah, that's not a small amount.
You get the vaccine or you're fired. You do this or you're fired. It puts people in a bind because it's like, man, everyone's doing their own research. Everyone's seeing that there have been diseases out since how long that don't have vaccines? And then COVID comes around and within, what, like 2020 really hit the scene? 2021 there's a vaccine?
I want to say it was like 9 months or something like that.
It was like 9 months. So people are looking at that, understanding just basics of medicine, and they're skeptical, right? Yeah. Rightfully so.
Previously to that, I believe it took 18 months to get through just like the initial testing of putting a vaccination together for previous diseases, right? So the 9 months that it took is unprecedented.
Yeah, it was very quick, and that's why, you know, the vaccine is surrounded by so much skepticism because it was immediate, and you know, it puts people, especially with all the mandates that are going forward, it puts people in a position where they either have to go with what's going to pay them or go with what they believe and what they're feeling. It says, I'm really disappointed to learn that there were fake vaccination cards, Eric Adams said. Not only is it illegal, it undermines our entire trust. My understanding, it is being investigated, and we are going to see the outcome of the investigation. It says, the United Federation of Teachers is preparing to challenge the move, saying some teachers claim they were wrongly accused and that placing them on unpaid leave violated the basic notion of due process. So at least 100 teachers. So that adds another issue, right? You already had a whole bunch of people not wanting to work because of COVID, because it was dangerous. It's like, you know, it's not like it just goes anywhere. It's a virus. It's a virus. So it's going to mutate. It's going to continue. It's highly transmissible. A whole lot of people are uncomfortable just behind that. But then you have, you know, the food shortages, the inflation. So it kind of pushes you. Like, you got to go out there. You got to figure something out. And then on top of that, people are skeptical. And then on top of that, because of the education, America is already like ranked 28 in the world. And that was when, like, way back when I was in school, and I thought that school was still pretty decent. I've seen some of the stuff that kids are doing now in public school, and I'm like, man, this is not adequate. It's very unclear, it's ambiguous, it's not specific, and it's unmonitored. A lot of kids are just at home working from iPads now. Then on top of that, another 100 teachers. Even more educators who are already underpaid and already are kind of sacrificing themselves to hopefully give back. Now they're also being told to leave unpaid because it's like, well, they didn't get the vaccine or they submitted a fake card. Everything's just collapsing. Education down. The average dollar down. Food down. Production down. Working class down.
Not everything's down. Crime's up.
Man, what a gut check. Crime is up. That's the only thing that has gone up in these past couple of years, and it's no figure with all the things that we're facing right now, right? Then on top of that, to add, another stressor, there's always the threat of nuclear war. Russia makes its first successful test of nuclear-capable missile. I don't think this is the first one, but it definitely was. It was the first of its kind because of, I believe, the speed of travel and the distance of travel. A lot of rockets, they're unable to cross certain distances, and they're typically fired down with some regularity because of missile systems. But this one is able to avoid it. It says, Russia says it has performed the second successful test of a new intercontinental ballistic missile. President Vladimir Putin said the nuclear-capable weapon would make Russia's opponents think twice before harboring any aggressive intentions. So you better be careful. He ready to push the big red button. The Pentagon said the test launch did not constitute a threat to the U.S. or its allies. That's the statement that was put out, but I believe the distance across Russia, because I believe they conducted the test, and I do know this part. They conducted the test from one side of Russia to the other. But Russia's a massive continent, right? It's a couple thousand miles wide. That couple thousand miles, now, if they're not going from one side of Russia to the other side, let's say they go from east or west Russia over an ocean, that's very much a threat because it can cross the distance of Russia. It can cross an ocean. It says the SHAMAR is truly a unique weapon. I could be wrong. I've seen articles that called it the Satan II. Yeah. This one's calling it the SHAMAR.
Well, I think the Satan II is like a nickname for it.
Oh, okay. So it's nicknamed. The first one was nicknamed Satan, and this one's nicknamed Satan II. But now it's I guess the official term for the rocket is the SHAMAR. It's truly a unique weapon that will enhance the military potential of our armed forces, keep Russia safe from external threats, and make those who try to threaten our country with wild and aggressive rhetoric think twice. So they're all just throwing subliminals. Y'all think that Facebook and Instagram is bad? You know how people get on there posting their problems and clearly talking about someone? Imagine that world leaders are doing this. Our enemy's gonna think twice.
You don't have to imagine.
Right. Not even, yeah, right. Don't imagine, but look at it because it's actively happening. Biden always saying certain stuff. Oh, Russia's this, Russia's that. Our enemies are this, this, and that. He's throwing his subs, and then Russia's like, well, our enemies better think twice. And they really have nations, nuclear weapons, potentially world-ending technology, maybe not blow the earth apart, but definitely in life as we know it, technology and weaponry. And they're, in press conferences and on Twitter throwing subs at each other. I emphasize that only domestically manufactured assemblies, components, and parts were used for the creation of SHAMAR, he added on a televised briefing with the Russian military. Weighing over 200 tons, massive. Let me see that. I'm going to get this. What is that, 40,000 pounds? 200 times 2,000? 400,000 pounds. 400,000 pound rocket flying through the air. Massive, weighing over 200 tons, and it's over 400,000 pounds. So it could be, it's between 400,000 and 500,000. The fifth generation SHAMAR missile, they've been working on it a while, which is known in the West as the Satan II, has a range of 11,000 kilometers. Now I got to look up that. I need to know. What you get? 6,835 miles.
It's a pretty good distance.
That's definitely, and I got to look it up. It's out of curiosity. What is that? The Atlantic that separates us and Russia? That's transatlantic slave trade. If we go in, oh right, they can go either way, huh? Pacific or Atlantic. Let's look them both up. You look up. There you go, and I'm gonna look up Atlantic.
So I think at its widest point, it's like 12,300 miles.
At its widest point.
Right, but keep in mind that Alaska and Russia, from Alaska, you can look and see Russia, right? And the distance doesn't get, it's fairly close if you look on the globe. It's really close if you look on the globe.
The Pacific is 9,600 miles across. Now, keep in mind, these are at their widest points. That doesn't mean that across every single point is the Pacific 9,600 miles. This is at the longest point. And if you were going to throw something at someone, why would you go to as far away from them as possible? Right? So, and, a lot of times you see those things are launched from submarines. So, bottom line is, it very much can cross an ocean. And if I'm not mistaken, typically rockets go up into space for fuel conservation to fly in zero gravity. Then they re-enter the atmosphere to be able to strike a target. So it's going to go up out of the atmosphere, back into the atmosphere, and hit a target.
If this is a hypersonic missile, it's different, right? So the thing that makes it special is that it uses gliders, which allows it to not only move much faster, but the height is much lower, right? So it's harder to detect because it's not like traditional rockets. It's not going up in the air, right? So it's much faster than those rockets, and it's much harder to detect. So it's that much harder to defend against, right? You by the time you know that it's coming, it's on your doorstep.
Even worse, and I don't want to say this because I'd hate to see the flash, but it's like the reality is like it could be one on the way and we just wouldn't know until it was like boom.
Kind of too late, yeah.
Yeah. Why is the sun coming up at 9 o'clock p.m.? Oh wait, everything's gone. And
then the other thing is this, right? Even if you are able to detect it in a reasonable amount of time, we don't really have a defense against it. So, yeah, it's cutting edge technology,
man.
And the U.S. is still about 2 years behind when it comes to creating our own hypersonic missiles. I believe North Korea, China, and Russia are the nations right now with hypersonic missile capabilities.
Literally everybody but the U.S.
And I believe that North Korea got its missiles got the missile technology from Russia. Don't quote me, but I believe I don't believe that North Korea came up with hypersonic missiles on their own. I believe that they worked in tandem with either China or Russia or both to obtain that technology.
And here's the rough part, because we were looking at distance, right? In 2019, Mr. Putin claimed the Sarmat, and this is the Sarmat 2, but this was the original Sarmat, had virtually no limits when it came to range and was able to aim at targets crossing the North Pole as well as the South Pole. They aren't saying like the rocket crash landed, 85 or 8,600 miles away. They're saying it was a successful test. So that's not saying that that's the limit of its capabilities. It could easily cross an ocean. It says the Sarmat is part of a series of other Russian missiles presented in 2018 as invincible by Vladimir Putin. These include the Kinjal and a Vanguard hypersonic missiles. In March, Moscow claimed to have used the Kinjal against targets in Ukraine for the first time. Deployed by the Russian army, the hypersonic Kinjal missile, meaning dagger in Russia, allowed, Moscow claims, it to destroy an underground warehouse of armaments in the west of Ukraine. Their use in Ukraine is a world first for hypersonic weaponry. So it's like, man. And as much as the U.S. is trying to get involved, it's crazy because there's so many scriptures that come to mind. You know, there's one where the scriptures say, bend your bows and shoot. You know, and it's talking about everyone's going to be shooting right here, right? And, the scriptures say, is this he, right? Let's get this one, actually. I'm going to get one of these, kind of incorporate these things. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. Verse 16. Go ahead.
This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that he did shake kingdoms?
So it's like, man, as much as Esau has had this power, as much as America has had this power for all these years, you know, invading Iran, invading Iraq, invading these countries, setting the standard, doing whatever it wants to. Now all these other countries have rockets and missiles, and America hasn't been playing nice. Now they have the capability to say, okay, you ain't going to tell us what to do anymore. You better be careful about the way that you're talking. You better be careful about the way that you speak on us. Because they have those things. It said that's how it's going to end up. Is this he? It's like now that they're all coming into these positions of power, it's like, man, who is this? That used to have everybody trembling. They used to have everybody afraid, but now is having to get on Twitter to resolve the issues. Oh, is this he? But that's why we say, man, you know, obviously it's more pivotal now than ever, especially as we're getting closer to the end, for our people to wake up and come back to keeping the commandments. Because we really don't know how much time we have left. We really don't know, you know, when the end is going to be. You know, Christ said these are going to be signs, but the end is not yet. And at the end of all those things, he said it's going to end with him coming back. We see all these things that have been happening getting closer and closer. We know we're getting that much closer to the coming of Christ. Another quick one. We're gonna get through these. Only got a couple more. 12 injured, 3 people detained after shooting at a South Carolina mall. 12 people were injured and 3 people have been detained following a shooting at Columbia, South Carolina mall on Saturday afternoon, police said. The incident occurred on the premises of Columbia Center Mall, said Columbia Police Chief William H. Skip Holbrook. There were no fatalities reported from the shooting. Holbrook said 3 armed men were detained by police, although it is not clear how many people actually fired a weapon. Police believe the shooting was not a random attack. We believe the individuals that were armed, there was some type of conflict that occurred which resulted in gunfire, Holbrook said in a Saturday afternoon news conference. This was not a situation where we had some random person show up at a mall to discharge a firearm and injure people. So they've got some kind of beef that was going on, and you know, some kind of heated argument transpired that ended in a shooting. Of those injured, 10 received gunshot wounds, with 8 who were transported for treatment and 2 who were self-transporting for care. 9 of the 12 who were injured in the shooting have been released from the hospital. Of the 11 patients received in Prisma Health hospitals in the Midlands, 9 have been treated and released. Prisma Health spokesperson Tammy Epps said Saturday evening. 2 patients were admitted. Look at this. The oldest shooting victim is 73, and the youngest is 15.
That's crazy.
So again, times and places where things are just happening. No control. These things are out of our control. But remember, the Most High says he's going to bring judgment, right? And he says he heals and wounds. All these things are of the Most High. Let me get one more scripture. Amos chapter 3, verse 6. Because we're seeing all these things. We go over current events, but keep in mind, these things are all the Most High. The wages of sin are death, right? And not to be a lot of super brews kind of be like, see, you twisted your ankle. You missed a step on a Saturday. You was going to do something wrong. And I'm not saying that there's no merit to any of that, but you really start to see with all the things that are happening in the world, especially, on the Sabbath, 12 people get shot of all things and of all numbers. Amos chapter 3 and verse 6.
Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Most High has not done it?
It says, shall there be evil in the city? And it's the Lord. That's the thing. People always say Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. It's Satan. Most High has control of Satan. Most High tells him to go here or who he can touch and who he can't touch. And when he does allow someone to get touched, to what extent? You see that in the book of Job. He said, all right, you can take everything around him. Don't touch him. Then he said, okay, now you can touch him, but you can't kill him. And Satan had his limits. So it's like all these things are of the Most High. When someone's wounded, when someone's killed, and I try to keep those things in mind all the time. Every time I can get a paper cut, and I'm going to start thinking, am I doing something wrong?
Right.
Okay, maybe this is not overtly wrong, but is this wise? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Because you really have to understand the Most High is the one who does all these things. He's in control. He said, shall there be evil in the city and it's not him? Who else would it be?
That's right.
Mall officials issued a statement that was posted by Columbia Police on Twitter that said, today's isolated, senseless act of violence is extremely upsetting, and our thoughts are with everyone impacted. We are grateful for the quick response and continued support of our security team and our partners and law enforcement. So they're trying to say it's an isolated event, but it's stuff like that that just makes me think, bro, you don't know that. And you definitely don't have control over it. Esau gives the illusion of control well, but none of these things are in his control. And it's becoming more evident. And not only as the nations are pulling back their bowstrings on their bows ready to shoot their arrows, but as the Most High brings forth judgment and brings forth, the death and the injuries in the world, we really see Esau's not in control. Look at this one. CDC warns a large ongoing meningitis outbreak in Florida among gay and bisexual men. Right?
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is urging gay and bisexual men to get the meningococcal vaccine after an outbreak in Florida has led to an increase in cases. Multiple meningitis cases have been reported across the state in the past few months, and some involving college students and those living with HIV. Anyone who has been exposed or developed symptoms should be evaluated by the healthcare provider right away. This is a rare but potentially devastating infection. For every 100 people who contract meningococcal disease, 10 to 15 will die, according to the CDC. 1 in 5 people who recover can suffer from long-term disabilities, such as loss of limbs, brain damage, and deafness. This is serious, and that's 10 to 15%.
Right. That's a pretty high mortality rate
really
and
high.
infection rate. That's pretty high.
The Florida Department of Health said the number of cases in 2022 has surpassed the 5-year average, and it is investigating 3 confirmed cases in Tallahassee in people ages 18 to 22. These are young people, right? You just going in and coming and barely out of college. You haven't even done life yet. The disease is a more serious form of meningitis, an inflammation of the membrane surrounding the brain and spinal cord. It is caused by the bacteria called Neisseria meningitidis, which is less contagious than germs that cause the common cold or flu, the release said. Meningococcal can be contracted after long periods of close contact or direct contact, such as kissing or sharing a drink.
I don't deny that, and I'm obviously only speaking as a man, as a mortal. I don't think of myself. I'm not, special to say what the Most High is going to do. But if they're warning gay men and bisexual men, I don't think that it's any kind of hug. You know what I'm saying? Because they try to put it's details like that, and I'm not saying that there's never been a heterosexual person to get meningitis. I'm not saying that it's only exclusive. But I just don't see a massive amount, especially not no 10 to 15% mortality rate amongst heterosexual people living in, monogamous or polygynous relationships contracting meningitis. I don't see that.
I mean, the thing is, we don't even have to speculate because it comes out and says it, right? It says among gay and bisexual men. And
right.
Gay and bisexual men, it's clear that it's not
normal bacteria.
It's not just normal behavior, right?
It's not. And you're not just going to get that by sharing a cup. Like, how many times have you been somewhere and be like, oh, snap, was that your cup? Oh, my bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times does that happen? You got a couple, we share a straw. No one's got meningitis. Right. But then all these gay dudes are just popping up and, oh, my God, he's in. And then, even for the people that are surviving, what did it say, 5%? We're having loss of limbs. You know what I'm saying? All these other side effects. No. And I just want to read this real quick. Romans chapter 6, verse 23. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Scripture's already said the wages of sin is death. Now, what a lot of people get misconstrued is mercy or the Most High being long-suffering, as the Scriptures say. But the Scriptures say even though he's long-suffering, he will in no wise let thee go. You get time. People say that all the time. Oh, I've been doing that for 20 years, 40 years. You have a man who's been living in sin or, being a whoremonger, sleeping around with all these different women. Oh, I've been doing this for 40 years, 50 years. You might even have a good life, so to speak, or, what the world would consider good up until death. But what that eternal life looking like?
Right.
Is it in peace and in happiness, or is it in pain and in suffering? It's always there's never going to be an escape from the judgments of the Most High. That's why he said, but he's merciful to those that repent. That's the goal, that we repent, that we turn away from our sins. The Scripture said all throughout the book, just repent. Acknowledge what you did wrong. Say that it didn't profit you. Repent, repent, repent. Now we really seeing all these things that are really coming about in the earth and who it's affecting, when it's affecting them, and how it's affecting them, and then what they're doing to be able to get into that kind of place with the Most High. Let's continue on. Go ahead.
Fever, headache, stiff neck, nausea, vomiting are some of the early symptoms for the disease.
Is it stiff neck? Damn, stiff neck. Damn. Imagine that. Don't the Most High, how many times did the Scripture say that Israel is stiff-necked?
Right.
Imagine being so stiff-necked, that's now a symptom in your disease. And I'm not mocking these people, but I'm mind blown. Right. Like I said, I'm not mocking nobody. I'm not sitting up here calling, but we have to acknowledge this for what it is. They're not saying everyone's especially at risk. They're specifically saying that gay and bisexual men. Because what are bisexual men doing? They're not just sleeping around with multiple women. They're getting involved with other men. Fever, headache, stiff neck. Stiff neck. When the scriptures say you're stiff neck, means you're hard-headed. Right. I think that it's pretty understood, no matter where in the earth you are, homosexuality has always been known for being wrong, right? Whether it's Quran, Christianity, morality, that's always been acknowledged as being wrong. But America says that it's fine. America has safe havens, has neighborhoods, has, rights set up for these people, but that does not protect you from the judgment of God.
That's right.
And that's why these things are happening. That's why these things are coming about on the earth, because our people are not repenting, taking that safety in Esau. And that's why really Esau's fall is just going to be such a hard, because the higher you are, the harder you're going to fall. That's why this is going to be such a hard fall, because look at how Esau has influence people and convince people that things are okay, things are acceptable, when the Most High has given no man license to sin.
That's right.
That's mind-blowing, though. Stiff neck.
It's kind of poetic.
It really is. It really is. You got a stiff neck. Like, oh, man, you need to get that checked out.
Right.
My neck's feeling stiff. Wow. Con, go ahead. You finish that up. Man.
The Florida Department of Health said anyone exposed should contact their healthcare provider immediately.
Immediately.
That's all that.
Mind-blowing. Another country, you mentioned China earlier. Why China changed its mind about nuclear weapons and is bulking up its arsenal at an accelerated pace. So for a long time, the U.S. has been like, y'all better not be over there beefing up that arsenal. Y'all better not be doing this. Y'all better not be doing that. Now the U.S. is to a point where it's just having to watch all these things go down. And it's crazy because the U.S. knows not to get involved. I bet if this was Iraq 20 years ago, and they were attacking Ukraine, oh, they would have been there. Now it's thoughts and prayers. We hope y'all make it. We're going to send our thoughts and prayers on Twitter because we can't get involved because they already know. Everybody's ready to push a button. U.S. has been oppressive for decades to all men. That's the crazy part. It's not just Israel that have been affected. As much as, even though the other nations have taken part in Israel's captivity, America suppresses and oppresses a lot of these other nations too. Puts them in horrible, conditions, or just destroys the people for the benefits of pleasure. Where your iPhone come from? That's coming from China. The zinc batteries in Teslas and iPhones, mostly electronics, that's coming from Africa. The labor, all these things that are being outsourced, and now all these countries that are in ruin and destroyed, the leaders of that country looking at their own biological people. They're not just, presidents or rulers that are looking at a multitude of nations. They're looking at their very own people struggle, starve, and fight to survive, and seeing that, the overindulgence of the U.S. is to blame. And now after all that time of being told what they can't do, everybody getting ready. Slowly but surely, everybody's getting ready, and the U.S. can't do nothing but watch. It says China's rapid military expansion in recent years has alarmed other countries. Its nuclear arsenal is much smaller than the U.S.'s, but U.S. officials are warning about its growth. Experts say Beijing wants to have enough nuclear weapons to survive and respond to an attack. And China's been doing a bunch of stuff. China really is just like balls to the wall. They don't care. China has, they weren't even practicing over water. They were in a desert with U.S. replica warships practicing striking moving targets with rockets and missiles. Like exact replicas of a U.S. ship. Like ain't no question about, oh, we're just out here running some drill. Like we're just practicing. They're like, no, they're literally preparing for war with the U.S. The U.S. can see it, but what's being done? Because at this point, you're no longer you're dealing with hypersonic nuclear weapons. It ain't going to be no quick little talk it out, sit down. It probably won't be a whole lot of troops on the ground. It's going to be push the buttons and God help us. We've been seeing it in movies for decades, and now it's at our doorstep.
What these nations are saying is that, the U.S., you are no longer going to impose your will on us.
Exactly. The jig is up. It's literally, the jig is up. We're going to get through, it's only a couple more. We're going to get through these real quick. The U.S. Defense Department's annual report on China's military released in November again illustrated the breathtaking pace and scale of China's conventional military modernization. The report also highlighted several documents that could threaten the U.S. more directly than China's conventional forces, namely China's large-scale expansion of its nuclear forces. Everybody's going nuclear. There's really no point. You get hit with a nuclear missile, all those troops, tanks, helicopters, whatever, they're non-existent, and vice versa. If you can shoot a nuclear missile, the other side's forces are non-existent. The next war is really not going to be fought over, on the ground. It's going to be in the air. That expansion is well documented. The Pentagon's 2020 report on China's military noted that Beijing's stockpile of nuclear warheads would at least double by the end of the decade. By the year's report includes a more urgent message. China has accelerated its nuclear expansion and is exceeding the pace and size the DoD projected in 2020.
Sheesh.
Look at that. This month, a Chinese armed control official denied those assertions, but Beijing's work is still seen as troubling. So they're like, nah, what? Nuclear weapons? At this point, I try to make light of it and laugh about it because that's just who we are. But at this point, it's like, damn, this is really getting alarming. All these countries that are preparing for war, all these prophecies that are being fulfilled before our face, and even just the amount of other Israelites that you see. Like Jakes, who've been in this 20 years plus, they talk about how it was like like needle in a haystack to find another Israelite. Even when, coming into the truth not too long ago, it still seemed more rare. But like these past 5 years, you see Israelites everywhere. Seen brothers in a parking lot passing out literature. We seen a kid walking home. We was at a stoplight. I looked over. I said, "Man, does he have fringes on his shirt?" Sure did. You see him all the time. All praises to the Most High. But you're seeing so much of Israel wake up. That Hosea 1:10 being fulfilled before our eyes. The nations being ready for war. The wars and rumors of wars. You see all these things, and it's like boom, 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 boom. This one's done. That one's done. This one's done. That one's done. It's like, man, how many more do we have left?
It's undeniable.
Absolutely. Undeniable, and there's nothing that's going to stop it. The will of the Most High is going forth.
That's clear.
And I'm just going to read these last 2 points. The Pentagon estimates that China's stockpile of nuclear warheads is in the low 200s, though other estimates have put it as high as 350. By comparison, the U.S. and Russia are believed to have 5,500 and 6,255 warheads, respectively, though they have agreed to limits on how many can be deployed, as if that's going to work in a nuclear situation.
Right. We reached our limit.
Right.
Man.
We
got to stop warring.
Right. We've launched our 10. That's what we agreed on. We got to see, man, they're going to be like, they're going to go down the line, and we know that. And that's why the scriptures talk about in 2nd Ezra, a man shall be glad to see another man. What is going to happen in the world for there to be so much death that there are going to be bodies piled in heaps? So many people dead that there won't be anyone to bury them, and a man will be happy to see another person. Not, oh my God, there goes another person. I need food. I need water. I need his ammo. It'll be like, oh my God, another person.
Right.
Probably going to be so many resources like it's useless to kill the other person. You just be glad to have the company because there's going to be mass death. Potential of nuclear. But keep those things in the back pocket because while we're talking about that, matter of fact, I'm going to start with this. Food processing plants destroyed by fires, land being bought up by gates, fertilizer shortages seems like an evil coincidence brought to you by your own government. Better get prepared. So these are official, right? These are not just on Twitter. There are, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 food plants. Now, some of these, are like the Hot Pockets plant. If that's your favorite Hot Pocket, probably not going to be available. That's not the end of the world, right? That's not like a devastating change. The Kellogg plant, your Frosted Flakes probably going to go up. That's not like devastating. But when you see Azure Standard Headquarters, Taylor Farms, Gem State Processing, East Conway Beef and Pork, Rio Fresh, Market or Marco Bia Food Pantry, 2 Walmarts fulfillment centers, Shearer's Foods, Shearer's Foods, Bonanza Company, Wisconsin River Meats, Harper's Market Poultry Plant, Potato Plant, Cargill Nutrina Feed Mill, Vardrunen Farms. These aren't just the convenient food plants that are being destroyed and shut down, right? A lot of these are meat processing, because that's what a lot of people kind of rely on. Most people you don't really care about Hot Pockets. Most people probably ain't eating them unless you're a gamer, a student, someone who just enjoys them. But when you see headquarters, farms, fulfillment centers, beef processing plants, pork, even though we, obviously we're glad for that one, but they're processing the same plant, so losing one means losing both. Potato plant, you're talking about actual food that's being lost. Meat processing, vegetable processing, all these different things that are being destroyed. And that's what, 24? And they're not even in the same place. Oregon, Cali, Idaho, New Hampshire, Texas, Arizona, 2 in Plainfield, Indiana, both by Walmart, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Hermanston, Oregon, El Paso, Texas, Mauston, Wisconsin, Hamilton Mountain, Warden, Washington, Lecompte, Louisiana, I'm not sure if I said that right, Moments, Illinois, not sure if I said that one right, San Antonio, Texas, Kansas City, Kansas, Nebraska, Georgia, Tennessee, Illinois, and Kansas. Look at the causes of destruction, though. fire, airplane crash. Okay, that one was probably like, whoa. That was probably maybe the most random, so to speak, incident where an airplane actually crashed there, right? Fire, boiler explosion. Fire, explosion. Fire. You telling me all these meat processing plants that have been open for this long have safety procedures in place, have OSHA procedures in place, every job has orientation, and the more serious the job, the longer the orientation typically. A lot of it is just how to be safe. And you telling me even with fire watch, all of these went up in fires? You telling me with the multitude of fire extinguishers, no one was able to catch it while it was small and put it out? You telling me that there's been no big push to have these things rebuilt immediately? These aren't even in the news. This is some lady off of Twitter. And these are all in 2022. Oh, I'm sorry. From this point up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 20, what was this, 24? So 17 out of 24 have been this year? April 18th, April 13th, 2 in one day, the 13th, the 11th, March 31st, March 28th, March 16th, 2 in one day again. March 13th, February 28th, February 15th, February 3rd, February 1st, my God. January 21st, January 14th, January 1st. That's just this year. We're only in April.
We're not even halfway through the year yet.
You're not even halfway through the calendar year. And all these food plants have been destroyed. So what do you think that's going to do for the food supply that was already becoming more expensive? People talk about the gallon of milk and price of cheese and a dozen eggs. Imagine what it's about to become.
Right.
Because not only is there less food and more people to feed, you got all these TikTokers and YouTubers and restaurants doing a 50-pound burrito challenge that they're wasting after the video. All these famous chefs that are cooking 200-pound meals with only 3 people in the kitchen. You got all that being wasted. Then on top of that, you have all these places that are being burned down. And who knows if all these are legitimate fires that just coincidentally happen all at the same time, or if these are acts of arson that are not being reported or well covered up. However it's happening, the food shortage is real. Whatever speculation you want to give, and that's why we say, prepare. The scriptures give us wisdom, and it gives us the perfect example with Joseph in Egypt. He said, look, it's 7 years of famine coming, so everything that you get for these next 7 years, be sure to take some of it and store it up, because you're going to have to survive for the 7 years that you ain't going to have nothing. Go get used. You know it's bad because you see it everywhere. I saw a billboard today driving, right? And this is in Compton. If they telling Jakes, you know it's bad.
Right.
We're always getting the tail end of information and the tail end of awareness or situations. Even the scriptures say the heathen will be the head, will be the tail. I driving through Compton, I believe it was down Rosecrans, right there by the county building. It said if you can plan a birthday party, you can plan for a natural disaster. And it was sponsored by FEMA and the U.S. Department of, I think, Emergencies, whatever department that's called. I'm like, yo, Walmart got, they always have camping gear, which is cool, but now the camping gear is way in April. I'm like, whoa, ain't nobody going camping in the spring, not like that. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that people will never go camping, but you always see those things around late August, July. You know what I'm saying? That's when you start to see your tents
Camping.
Pop up.
Camping season.
Right, it's camping season. Now you see them year round. They're there, right now. I seen food emergency, 24-hour emergency supply, 72-hour emergency supply, emergency ice cream sandwiches, ice cream that don't need to be refrigerated in a vacuum sealed bag. I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
It's happening. The whole world knows. They slowly putting the products in Walmart. They're like, hey, we gave it to y'all. You had the option. Man, Israel, just please prepare. Make sure that you're being abreast of these things, and then taking account of these things, and then preparing for these things. On top of all of those that we just got to, and I'm sorry, I know I got a bad habit of rambling. Got a bad habit of monologuing, but we're going to get these last couple. More than 120,000 pounds of ground beef is recalled over possible E. coli concerns. So on top of the 24 food plants that have been lost in the past couple of years, 17 of which being this year, 120,000 pounds of what would already processed, what would be edible ground beef is recalled for E. coli concerns. I feel like that's the story is pretty much in the highlights. You want to read anything particular?
Nah.
120,000 pounds lost. Who knows how many cows that was? Lost. Here goes another one. Skippy peanut butter recalled over possible metal fragments. Hormel voluntarily recalled 60,000 jars in 18 states that might have been affected by an errant piece of manufacturing equipment.
Sheesh.
Yet another one, right? So you have all those plants being burned, the inflation going up, people losing their job, people affected by COVID. I mean, I hate to just keep summing it up, but the more that I think about it, the more that it's just like, look at the full scale. Then they recalled 60,000 jars of peanut butter, which is a long-term, long-lasting prepper item, right? 60,000 jars of it been returned because it could contain steel fragments from an errant piece of manufacturing equipment. All products were marked best of use by May 2023. And these are the states. California, damn. Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, North Carolina, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin. No consumers have complained about the issue. So imagine, you're just going to bite into it and be like, ouch. A little piece of metal in the peanut butter. Man.
Let's put the information out. So it says the company said in a news release that the facility's internal detection systems flagged the problem and that it is issuing the recall out of an abundance of caution and with an emphasis on the quality of its product. If you think you may have purchased one of these products, you can return it to the store from which you purchased or call Skippy Foods Consumer Engagement at 1-866-475-4779 or visit its website, peanutbutter.com, for a step-by-step guide. So, if you got some Skippy, it's probably best that you go ahead and, return that stuff.
At least get a magnet or something. Check your peanut butter, get a magnet and, run it around the sides. But it's
got to be a pretty strong magnet.
I know, right? Just chew real slow. I don't know, like, man. So, and this is with all the good food, right? So here's the kicker, and I wanted to finish it off here purposefully.
This is beautiful.
First, U.S. warship was chased by 2 car-sized balls of light, UFOs. So I've seen a lot of people say memes and post funny stuff like, oh my gosh, season 4 of COVID or season 2022 of America, season 2022 of the world, it's going to be aliens. And everyone's been laughing, and it's legit aliens. And we know these things are angels. We know that these are chariots of the Most High, right?
Right.
Let's go to Zechariah real quick. I believe I want 1 and 5. Oh, you know what? I believe that's Ezekiel. The flying roll. Oh, Ezekiel, Salaki, not Zechariah. Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 4. And we're going to read 4 and 5.
This is Ezekiel 1 and 4.
Uh-huh.
And I looked, and behold, the whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud and a great fire unfolding itself, and a brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man.
Get the next verse, 'cause this is fascinating.
And every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. I can't stop now.
Right.
Go ahead. Their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. Interesting.
So, and that's one thing, The shows, the cartoons, the propaganda always portray like these very humanoid angels, and some of them really are. They do look like that. You know, they really do just look like men.
Sure.
Scriptures say many have entertained angels unawares.
Kind
Plenty of, angels can easily walk the earth. You encounter, and that's why once I really started to meditate on that, I started to be careful. I at least I try to make more of a conscious decision when I treat, how I treat people.
Definitely.
Especially when you have that random person that
Right.
just got something about them. Man, we was in a store like some months ago. They me and my wife was in there. We was where did we go? We went to a store and there was just this lady, like she just kept popping up and just kept following us, it seemed like. We let her cross the street, she's staring all into the car. We like, damn, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, what's up with that? We get into the store, hey king and queen, how y'all doing? Y'all have a blessed day. I'm like, all right, sis.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, all right. I kind of want to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not to be funny, but you kind of do like wink at people or, squint your eyes a little bit like, You don't know for certain, but I sure ain't seen her since. Like, man, I wonder. And it's crazy because I usually see articles like this on, like the most self-published, like rinky-dink websites. And I'm not saying all self-published websites are rinky-dink, but a lot of times, they're very biased stories, very specific information, very specific narratives. Not a whole lot of people see it. But I'm like, whoa, this is New York Post. This is like widely used, well evidently seen
Right.
information. People are knowing, and it's crazy because it's not even the mass hysteria that you would expect. Everyone's just like, yeah, there are aliens. Yeah, there is other life. And ultimately, it's not aliens. These are angels. It says, a U.S. Navy warship was shadowed by 2 car-sized balls of light that were unaffected by anti-drone weapons, it is claimed. So they tried to shoot something. An anti-drone weapon, a pulse of an EMP, they tried something to deter them, and they were not affected. So they tried to, just look at that. Even within the first sentence. They tried to shoot it, and it's not affected. The USS Kearsarge is the latest vessel to have reportedly, the latest, not the only, to have reportedly had a UFO encounter as the U.S. military begins to open up about the mysterious phenomena. So it's happening so often, they're like, okay, we're going to have to tell somebody.
All praise to the Most High.
All praises. It's no longer those super fuzzy videos, those,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, those really...
That they refuse to make clear.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and yeah, right, as if people like, y'all telling me that only these, you know what I'm saying, these free cell phone...
You can read the date off a nickel from a satellite, but you can't clear up these images? Give me a break.
Right. And now it's like, all right, they got to talk about it. They're like,
Right.
okay, y'all saw those 2, and it seems like the Navy is the one seeing a lot of them out on the open oceans. There were two pilots that had seen objects that were flying with them that they couldn't keep up with. So while all these fake videos are surfacing, you having real instances of, unidentified, but we know that these are chariots. These chariots really being around and following a warship, following a ship of war. Who knows what it's going to do or when.
Just let them know.
Right. At least 2 objects are said to have lurked over the 40,500-ton amphibious assault ship for several nights.
Sheesh.
Damn, so it wasn't even like they was just there for a moment. That's what I thought.
Right, that's what I
thought,
did too.
a little 5-minute follow.
Right,
they
right,
were
right.
several nights. So that really might just be reconnaissance. Really just sending an angel saying, go see what they're able to do. Go see how it works. Go see this, go see that. Go see who's on that ship. Is there a righteous one? All right, well, follow it. Who knows?
You think it's like that? I think
I
it's a message.
I can only speak as a man, but I mean, you do see in the scriptures where Lot, with Sodom and Gomorrah, the Most High was saying, if you could find one righteous, I'll spare the whole city.
Come.
It's very possible. Who knows? But I just, that's just my fascinations. It says the phenomena described by sources familiar with the encounter as odd and menacing balls of light are said to have been following around half a mile behind the ship and around 200 feet above the ocean. Beatty was contacted by a now-retired U.S. Marine officer identified only as Mark regarding the strange episode. The USS Kearsarge had been training at the time ahead of an overseas deployment, including with systems designed to take down enemy drones. So they shot at it like, what is that? Could it be a drone? They shot at it. They said, oh, damn, it's not a drone. The weapons include anti-drone Ghostbusters-style backpacks and systems mounted on vehicles. So they hit it with some heavy stuff. Pictures from the ship's public Facebook page reveal they had these capabilities on board at the time of the alleged encounter. The objects are said to have been spotted at night by the deck watch, who could not game a thermal targeting lock on them. So they look like fire, but they're not even hot.
They're not emitting any heat signal.
Right. They don't have a heat signature. It is understood the incident was recorded on video by the crew, but this footage has not yet been released because I'm pretty sure they're like, put your cell phone down. Don't you dare post that anywhere. We cannot let them know what's happening out here. Yeah, but the Most High is showing it's more evident. All these things at the same time. This event, April 4th of this month, April 4th, 2022, 24 days ago. The objects are said, oh, I'm sorry, I read that. Marines on board are said to have believed at first the unexplained objects were part of a surprise training exercise for the new anti-drone weapons. However, they discovered the countermeasures did not disrupt the objects, which were doing swooping maneuvers as they followed the ship. So that does sound like this is like a let y'all know kind of thing.
Right.
They swooping, they moving around, they getting close enough to be seen, and then no heat signature. And they shot at it, and it was not affected. It says, Mark told Beatty that the USS Kearsarge radioed command about the objects and were informed the objects were not ours. The documentarian is attempting a deeper dive into the event, which is the latest UFO incident reported to have been encountered by the U.S. Navy. Imagine that. Oh, this is fascinating. U.S. officials have set up a new office in the Pentagon, putting an official reporting structure in place for UFO encounters for the first time in decades. First and foremost, that means that it has existed before.
It did.
And now they're saying, whoa, it's time to bring it back. Because, a lot of, if stuff that's happening at the Pentagon, stuff that's happening, when it's that public, it can't be kept a secret. So they're like, okay, it's so much happening, we have to bring people on and let people know what's going on. Because it's so much that it's being leaked either way. They need way more people involved to be able to keep things a secret, to try to figure out how to fight. And that's why I've been saying this. You see all these movies and shows about enemies from the sky. Mm-hmm. Independence Day 1 and 2. You saw, if you haven't seen it, it's still on Amazon Prime, The Tomorrow War. There were these creatures. They actually went, now theirs was through time, but the creatures were aliens that came from their time. Right? Or excuse me, that come in the future pretty much. So they time traveled to the future to fight aliens that came to Earth. And they said that they rested, I believe, every 7 days. And we call this the Sabbath. And that's when we strike. Have you not?
I haven't.
Well, you need to go watch it.
I need to go check it out.
They're saying it evidently. These creatures that are it's called the Tomorrow War. On Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, if you get packages delivered next day to your door, you have Prime Video. And if you have Prime Video, it's free to you. Literally costs nothing to go watch this movie. Watch this movie as a family. It's a fascinating movie. It's only sci-fi to an extent, but these creatures, these aliens essentially, in the future, they're on Earth, and they send people in on the Sabbath to try and get some kind of grounds to be able to attack. And it's like if you know something about being Israel and you know what the Sabbath day is to us, you know that Esau has been saying this for a while. Even A Quiet Place, part 1 and 2. Also aliens from the sky. All these different movies. What is Esau really saying? Over and over and over again, this narrative.
The truth.
Right. Over and over again, the narrative has been these enemies from the sky. They're coming, the enemies from the sky. And here they are. UFOs following behind the ship, swooping and swaying. All praise to the Most High. I just want to say this last thing, because this is pretty interesting. Anything that would expose a military weakness or military capability, of course, is sensitive, but if these objects turn out to not be man-made and not foreign state actors, we need to be open and address these with academic study, empirical methods, and grant funding to conduct research at the university level, he told The Sun Online. While I commend our DOD and officers for handling the collection of data, at some point we need to focus public attention on the mysterious question of what these objects are. That is, the ones that have been defied prosaic explanation after investigation. So they're saying, like, look, we can't, you know, they're not man-made. We can mystery solve. And I think they know that. I think they know that. They're trying to keep the mystery and still kind of give a, you know, the false flag and the smoke screen. Oh, it's such a mystery. What could it be? It's little gray men. Don't you know that's how all aliens look? These aren't aliens. They're angels. Those aren't UFOs. They're chariots. And I don't ever see one anywhere being taken down.
No?
I don't think it's possible. You can touch man. You can destroy us. You can destroy the body, but the Most High is in control so far beyond that. I don't think a UFO, I don't think a chariot, I don't think there will be much of a battle where Esau is going to get one to go down. But let them conduct their studies. I personally look forward to reading them. I think that that's fascinating nonetheless. Obviously not from a military perspective, but from a learning perspective to see what these chariots are doing, how they move, what, you know what I'm saying? Get some high quality images. I'm all for it because I want to see what the Most High, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to be able to see a chariot up close and personal and, you know, obviously for the right reasons and as hoping to be found righteous when they do get up close and personal. So I think these things are fascinating. So look into these things. Look into these things, Israel. You know, from, you know, the shootings, the food shortages, and the chariots that are evidently showing themselves. And that said for a few days. You know, a lot of times you see them, they appear, they disappear.
Blink of an eye, right?
You know, yeah, it's always been quick. We've seen, you know what I'm saying, years ago, we were in the back of the school on Manchester, saw some that circled, and it was like a marvel because they were there for about a good 2 minutes, and then they just disappeared. They were being followed for days. Like, whoa, days.
No denying that. Can you imagine, like, going through the whole next day, thinking about it, and then being like, are we going to see him again tonight?
Man.
And then it's there.
Man.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
All praise to the Most High.
All praise to the Most High, Israel. So, like I said, you know, we're getting closer and closer to the times. We're getting closer and closer to the end. It's more pivotal. We clear out those skeletons out of our closet. No such thing as a victimless crime or a victimless sin. Cleanse our spirits, especially because we're coming from Passover. We should have already been doing these things, but it's not a one time a year or 1 week a year kind of thing. Like Paul said, we die daily. So we're always supposed to be striving to be able to get better, to repent, and to, you know, get back up on our feet if we have fallen in this walk, to continue to hope to be found acceptable by the Most High in the name of Hamashiach Yahushai. You have anything you want to add?
I don't.
God. So all praise to the Most High, Israel. We give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High in Yahushai's name. We hope this was informative. We hope that it was also, you know, fascinating and interesting, that it sparks someone to go want to look into these things further. And with that, we say shalom.
Don't forget to like and share the videos. Shalom.
Shalom. Khan.